This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Every once in a while, you just have like general themes that kind of come in. You know, we had Roy Hawk on after his win on Havasu, which was good, and then chatted with Byron Velvick last week. Recorded a show today, actually on the water right now. But I met a dude at the Bassmaster Classic this past year. I talked about it on the show a little bit before. Every once in a while, you run into like pro anglers and stuff. They're like, "Hey, why have I not been on BTL yet?" And I'm like, "Dude, just you got to reach out and let me know." I didn't know. I would venture to say, and I can let you guys be the judge of that, there's only one or two guys who I'm not like, yeah, come on the show like right now. Other than that, throughout, and that's the beautiful thing about the industry, is there's so many cool stories, unique stories from upstate New York to Southern California to Oregon or Washington to Florida, of guys who have made a living in this, a career in this, big wins, tour level stuff, regional stuff, all over the map. And that's one of the cool things I like about bass fishing is you have a commonality in such a diversity spread throughout the country on how guys got into it, what guys do. And one of the guys I've had on today is a guy that I have heard a lot about for a long time, well respected in the industry. I know, like, I'm buddies with Rojas and all that, and they always talk about Big Daddy Todd Woods. And I'm sitting at the Pro Bass Adventures booth, and him and Rod Wynn walk by, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, yeah." And he's like, "When can we do?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm all in. Let's do BTL." So then he had the One Bass Arizona open, and I had open, so we've been going back and forth for about 3 months, and we're both at the same place at the same time. So thanks for jumping on BTL, Todd.
Thanks for having me. And you mentioned the Open. I mentioned the Open. Did we both suck or what? You know?
Yeah, I've unfortunately had a trend in the Bassmaster Opens of sucking recently, and I know that you made a joke before the Arizona Open here that you'd either be on BTL talking about how you won it or talking about how you're announcing your retirement. Hopefully, the latter was a joke.
Yes and no. It's so funny. I have been so entrenched in bass fishing for over 40 years. Yeah. Watching these guys like Skeet Reese and, Rick Clunn and different people retire. It's like, man, maybe I should retire. But I mean, I'm not in the league they're in, first of all. And I love fishing so much. As you know, I will jump in the boat with anybody, anytime, anywhere. And so it doesn't matter. There's no way. I told my wife about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Well, after the US, I go, I'm done. I'm going to take a break for a while. She goes, well, maybe you should. And then I looked at my schedule and I go, I've got nothing going on during the US Open this year. So it looks like I'm going to be fishing the US Open again,
That's good. I think I'm jumping in that this year. I sucked enough that I didn't make the EQs, and this is the first year since I fished it as the AAA in 18 that I have that weekend open. So I think I'm going to hook it up, take the fiance. Well, we're getting married on the 25th of October. That's like the beginning of October. She'll still be the fiance. We're going to head out to the desert and try our hand at scoping up some big smallmouth.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think that, did you win?
As the AAA.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's awesome. I mean,
I drew Salvucci, so it like only halfway counts. Like I got like I drew Salvucci and Matt Shura, and then the third day was canceled.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So I got an Overton dude when it was going off in Overton, and then I got a Vegas Wash dude when it was going off in Vegas Wash, and it was just, you know how it is. You've done it. It's just meant to be. When it's meant to be, you can do no wrong.
No, 100%. And the thing about it is, you look at the list of past U.S. Open winners, and I'm sure you can look at a couple of them and go, that guy got lucky. And I'm not talking about anyone specific, but just in general, and I'm talking about the pros, not the co's.
Yeah, you have to be lucky as a AAA guy. You got 3 different guys, and there's enough guys that can take you out in the middle in a John boat where you're not around anything to catch.
Yeah, and the thing about the U.S. Open, and I don't know if Mojave's the same as Lake Mead, but Lake Mead, you've got a variety of winners that there's so many challenges that come to the lake, whether it's the water level, the weather. Sometimes you get rain, sometimes you get 120-degree temperatures, and sometimes things just don't work out, especially the fact that we fish full fields the third day, which I absolutely hate. You
don't like that?
Oh, no, I don't.
Really?
And the reason why I don't like it is mainly because when I'm in Havasu, 89th place going into the last day, I want to go home, and they don't pair you with the same place that you're in.
Right.
They pair you with a different guy. So I got paired with a guy in 40th place at Havasu, which so now he's got a chance to get a check.
Yeah.
So now I got to fish like I'm fishing the last day of the Bassmaster Classic to get him a check.
I see. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I drew a guy at Mojave that was in 10th. And again, I was in the bottom of the deal. Fortunate enough, I caught fish. I got him up to 4th place. He never caught a fish. But, I mean, so if they're going to put us in 89th place, put me with the 89th place guy. That way we can have fun, and catch red air out at Havasu or something,
I like that. That's hope maybe Billy's listening, but I know logistically that's got to be rough to try to do, but that would make sense, especially on that final day. You pair first with first, but I never thought about that. I cut you off before. You were talking about how you were retired, and then you looked at you were considering fishing retirement, and then you looked at the schedule, and it sounds like you're about to say you got sucked right back in.
Oh yeah, it didn't take long. I'm actually my retirements have never lasted very long. I'm retired fire service 31 years. Yeah, I retired 2017, and I went to work 2 years later. I'm working at Anglers Marine, in Anaheim 2 days a week. And then now I'm a regional director for Cast for Kids for Arizona and California. And so I've never been more busier than this retired guy, so I'll probably never retire. I'll work till I'm died, till I die.
We'll definitely get into the Cast for Kids later. Are you still in SoCal?
I am. I'm in Long Beach.
Okay. I was just in Long Beach. My fiance's from that area, from Orange County.
Awesome.
So we do like the whole Long Beach stuff. Like I hang out. I know we'll get into this tournament later, but every time I get down there, I try to get lunch with Todd Klein.
Nice.
So yeah, it's cool. I think that is an underrated. Now, granted, everything's expensive as hell, but like it's such a chill part of the country. I think people get LA and that OC area like in their head as one, just like I'm from Illinois. People think Chicago, even though I'm from cornfields in the middle. Totally different vibe down in the Long Beach area than it is like in the LA area, as far as there's places to get around, really cool things to do down there. I love it down there, but I also get basically to go on vacation there 3-4 times a year. Just go to the beach, hang out at the piers, watch the surfers.
That's the beauty, with no traffic. We can be snow skiing in an hour. We can be water skiing in 10 minutes. We can be in the ocean, and about an hour and a half, we can be freshwater bass fishing. So, it's really not that bad. My wife and I, we lived in downtown LA for 4 years because we love to eat. And that's the other commonality that you and I have in common. When you start talking about sous vide and steaks and, I'm like, okay, that's my guy right there. I'm all over that.
Dude, you know what I just did last week? So it took me way too long. I'm handy, but I'm not handy, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, I do. If something's broken, I'm calling someone. So, I got a Blackstone at Christmas, and it was kind of intimidating because it was one of those big giant boxes and it was square. And I know that Blackstones aren't square, which means that there's some assembly required.
Sure.
But I put that thing together, and then I spent the better part of an afternoon seasoning it. I'm trying to pull the picture up now, which I was really proud of, seasoning my Blackstone grill. I'll show you a picture. I don't care about that if we would talk about grilling. So there's the There's the Blackstone on the back deck,
Nice.
one of the big giant ones, and then check that out. That's after 5 coats of seasoning on the Blackstone.
Oh my, yes.
Now,
sir.
what I figured out was after watching a lot of YouTube and stuff, I need a little handheld blowtorch to really season the corners of it, even though it's even heat distribution. Are you a griddle guy or a pellet and a?
I'm a pellet guy. I'm one of the Cabela's large
Okay.
pellet grills, and man, I've made some. I do the tuna fishing thing every year. I do so I'll put some tuna on there. I'll smoke some tuna. I'll do some steaks. I'll even do some vegan burgers on there. I mean, it's a phenomenal. Just the smoke flavor that you get. It's just and I have all the extra accessories that I'll add to it. Like I have a smoking pot. You put the pellets in another tube, and it double smokes the smoke that you're doing. It actually sends more smoke when you're doing it's kind of like cold smoking, but you're actually just giving it a little bit extra smoke because the pellet grills, they don't put out a lot of smoke, unless you kind of add a little.
Yeah, I'm scared to cold smoke. So the dude who is like an expert cold smoker is Jeremy Lawyer.
Okay.
On the BPT, he does like cold smoked cheese.
Oh yeah, I've heard
and
that.
It's awesome. Like we'll have some events and stuff that he's at, and he'll bring some of his cold smoked cheese. Like he is probably one of the top 5 that sounds weird. One of the top 5 smokers on tour.
Yeah. He lights it up. Jared Lindner, I know he's a big Traeger guy.
Yeah. You mentioned that's sous vide, or how do you say it?
I don't even know how to say it.
Sous vide, SOUSVIDE, but that is for the tournament angler who likes to cook. My buddy Darren, who fishes a co-angler with me in the opens, would bring like prime rib and he'd throw them in the sous vide at like 6 a.m. when we left. And then when we got back, they would be done. That is the most underrated cooking utensil for the tournament angler in existence. You can have your whole meal at 130 degrees when you get in from a day and you're eating 5 minutes after you get in off the water.
Rich man's crock pot, right?
But they're still cheap. They're still like $100-$150. But yeah, it is. You vacuum pack your meat and then you set it at whatever temperature. It keeps that internal temperature without overcooking the outside. So yeah.
And you can do weird stuff like creme brulee, you can do eggs, you can do all kinds of vegetables, you can do mashed potatoes even. Yeah, it's crazy the different things you can do with it. I haven't done exotic stuff.
You can get in trouble living in downtown LA with all the restaurants that are around there real quick.
That's the reason why I'm not fully retired. We had breakfast. My wife and I had breakfast the other day at a place called Zuzu Pedals in Long Beach. It's walking distance. Okay. And she had chicken and waffles. I had like an egg platter with sausage bacon, and it was $53. So and then I can go down to the local eggs etc. place and get a full blown meal for $20. That'll feed both of us. So we love to eat. So we don't. The money is no object when it comes to eating food.
Yeah. Every time I go, I go to OC. I go to Swaggy U Burger. There's one in Newport Beach. That was the one we just went to. I don't know if you've heard of that place, but if you're a burger guy, this is a straight up, like, the only reason I know about it is because of Instagram. I followed the guy for years. Yeah. Then I started dating her, and then I was like, oh my God, like this is where it is. We can go to it. Yeah. And I would recommend, if you're ever looking for a burger, the Swaggy U Burger. It's like they do like a Wagyu smash burger.
Yeah.
Top notch.
I'm there. Newport Beach is 30-minute drive, maybe at the most, along the coast, watching the waves hit, going through Huntington Beach. I'm all over it. Yeah.
Where'd you keep your boat when you lived in downtown LA?
That's a crazy story. So, working in the fire service, I worked in LA County, and somebody turned me on to a farm in Chino Hills.
Okay.
So this person had a huge lot in the back of their house. Private gate, electricity. Probably the hardest thing for us when we store our boat is getting electricity, to charge our batteries. And I was paying $75 a month to store my boat in this lady's backyard, basically.
Oh, that's free.
Yeah.
That's like free.
Totally.
Oh, that was a steal of a deal. You get to keep your stuff at your house now, though.
No.
No, you still.
So I'm driving. One day I'm driving. I'm going to a tournament. I'm going to the Delta, and this lady's waving at me. Hey, you can't stay here anymore. I guess the city came down on them, and they can't allow. It's not zoned for storage, and so I left my boat at English Marine for about 2 weeks, and then I had a tournament at Clear Lake. Actually, I think I must have been on my way to Clear Lake. I had a tournament at Clear Lake. I drew a kid by the name of, well, he's not a kid, but Jake Crawford. And he lives in San Pedro, which is the city next door to me. And he says, I said, hey, you wouldn't happen to know anybody that could store my boat, in your area? Huh? He goes, yeah, you can store it in my house. So that was about a year and a half ago. So now I've been storing my boat at his house, which is 7 miles from my house right now.
I did that for a number of years, and there's things that I like about it, meaning like when I'm not tinkering with stuff, I can't tinker with stuff.
Yeah.
There's also things that I hate about it because I want to be tinkering with stuff all the time. And then your buddies are like, oh, let me run out and get you that waypoint, or let me run out and, work on that tackle.
Yeah.
But here, I'm going to pull up a map just for those who are there. So one of the crazy things that I think about California is, like, you say Clear Lake or the Delta or anything, like it is a long way. It's not like Oklahoma, like where I am. I can be anywhere in Oklahoma in 3.5 hours. So there's LA right there. There is Long Beach right there. And then when you're looking at everything else, I mean, you're like where we're like way up in here.
Right about there. Yeah. You're close to Redding.
Yep, there's Clear Lake right there. So like for you to go from Long Beach, and then you refer to everything, you take the 5 to the 80 to the that's how they do it in California. Like, how far are you from Clear Lake based on where you are?
Time frame wise, about 9 hours.
Yeah, that's a long way.
Yeah, and I always start my trek at 4 o'clock in the morning to miss that LA traffic, because you're going to add an hour and a half if you have to go through LA traffic. So yeah, I'm 9 hours about, and so, which is about 2 hours is the Delta. So about 7 hours to the Delta, so I don't have a home lake. If you want to call my home lake Havasu, that's 4.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lake Mead, 4.5 hours. I don't really have a home tournament lake.
Todd, is that one of the reasons? Is that a strength and an Achilles heel of West Coast fishing, is how there are so many unique spread out fisheries kind of within each other that can really build incredible anglers that we've seen that have stayed out there, that have gone back east, but also why it has been so difficult to really grow the grassroots AAA league in that part of the country, because there's so much travel involved between those fisheries?
So much travel, so expensive. Roy said it perfect when he said that if you can make money if you can sleep in your own bed, and fish that way, but you can't. It cost me a minimum of $1,000 without even making a cast. So yeah, and that's whether it's
not entry fee.
No, that's not entry fee. That's whether you're a AAA or, and that's the problem. If you're a AAA living in Long Beach and you decide to go fish the Delta or Clear Lake, then it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I'm fortunate where I've got a couple of really, really good sponsors, Lawrence being one of them, where tournament support, they take care of me at the tournaments. And then the other fortunate part for me is I have built probably one of the best friend bases, from pro anglers to guides to, when you always see people stand up with the microphone, they're like, oh, I want to thank, the Johnson family for taking me in. I have so many people. I don't think the last time I stayed in a hotel was, I can't even remember. It was probably something that I was doing with my wife. Even my wife's a flight attendant, and she's based out of Las Vegas. And I even
fiance's a flight attendant.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we have in common.
She lives in OC.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've even had her stay with people in Vegas when she had to have her training. And that's the best part I love. And I think that's what I'm not the guy that can stay in a hotel and be alone. I like being around people. I'm a people person, So I try to stay away from the people that want to talk to me all night when I want to go to bed and, and fish the next day. But I have probably the best base of friends that I'm able to say with, which still, and it saves me about, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in lodging.
Yeah. That's from being in the game for so long. You have to, and I don't know what the record is for the guy who's fished the most Western Series Toyotas, but I would imagine this is the first year, which is the second year that haven't had a Western division of those Toyotas, but I would imagine there's not many more guys who have fished any more than you have. Were you bummed to see that take a hiatus on the West Coast?
The main thing I was bummed about was the numbers. Numbers started reducing, and then again, you start doing the math. It's like, oh, if I can't even cash a check if I come in 30th place, and then I just spent $2,000 on a tournament. So that was the main thing. I'm bummed at the people that, we get over 100 boats at a team tournament at an English Marine boat owners tournament, but you can't get 20 boats at an ABA or, some of these other region tournaments. And it's just sad that we can't, that we're not getting the participation. And that I see the reason why we're not, the third day of a one bass isn't being reduced down to 50 boats because it's not broke. We're getting 100, 150 boats. And, there's the only guys that are complaining out loud are me and a couple other guys. And so I think that's the reason why one bass is done so well. They've got a system that's working. They've got a great payback, and it's a fun tournament.
Did you fish one bass? So I only know one bass in the Billy Egan era. It started when Jeffries and stuff got hooked up with him. We did the live from the US Open. Yeah. It doesn't do that anymore, but it seems, then it was record numbers and the US Open, and it was grow and the support. You see corporate sponsors come in and all that. Before that, what was the US Open vibe before? I would say it's kind of still booming. It's still not anywhere near as big as it could or should be. But what was it prior to the last 10 years? What was it like?
Well, when you look at, we talked earlier before the show, you mentioned people like Byron Velvick, mm-hmm. Mike Folkestad, Clifford Perch has been around. He's been doing it for a while. Mike Folkestad, I can mention his name a couple times. I think he's won 3 times. But Harvey Naslund was the core of, the late Harvey Naslund. He was the core of one bass, a very, very good, solid, businessman. But he also, and I don't know his full background, but he had connections with guys like, Rick Clunn. Mm-hmm. I met Denny Brar I fished with him in a U.S. Open many years ago. Yeah, I think in 1989 or somewhere around there. I drew Gary Klein one year. So the field was stacked back in the day of at least, I would say, 20 guys that would come from back east and fish. And, back then, $50,000 was the first place, which was a ton of money in 1988, 89, and so they would come out and I think Clunn won twice or 3 times. I can't remember. So it was quite a prestigious, it was the deal. It was a world renowned tournament. Roland Martin would fish. You guys talk about stories about people that, got disqualified for various things. Roland Martin actually got disqualified for not having a fishing license one day,
Really? In the U.S. Open?
Yeah, in the U.S. Open. So there's stories like that. Mike Folkestad got disqualified for fishing no fishing area in Colville back in the day. There's a lot of side stories. People love talking about winning and whatnot, but man, I got a ton of stories.
What was your first year? Do you remember?
My first year, I want to say, was 1980. 6, I think.
Okay. So that was back when the whole thing that I remembered about the US Open is we don't cancel days. You may end up there overnight. We'll come find you. And you would hear guys be like, Rick would always talk about it, how it's 180 degrees out and then storms would come in. But hey, this is what you get into in the US Open. And this is why it's the toughest thing. So you've been through all of the crazy weather conditions days in the U.S. Opens.
Yeah, I've been through, I'm trying to remember the year and who won it, but I remember a year that they didn't cancel the day. Harvey Naslund was the tournament director, but they delayed the day because of lightning. We had lightning really, really bad one morning, and so we didn't go out till 9 o'clock. And so, yeah, it was definitely, there was no, it's too windy. The only thing that stopped us was
lightning.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't until that 2008 or 2018, where they had the first day. The only year that I fished, it was where they had the first day that was canceled, and it was like 35-mile-an-hour winds that were going straight into the marina.
Yeah. I think
I did the money. $50K in 1989 is equivalent to $128,000 today.
Exactly.
So you can't really fish for $128,000 anywhere else, especially on that entry fee.
Yeah, and it was cash. And going back to another controversy, the year that Larry Hopper won, he did not get his money. The guy, it wasn't Harvey Naslund. It was, I think, a guy by the name of Rick Schultz. I'm not sure if he's still alive. He was the tournament director, and he had a gambling problem.
Oh, no.
Larry Hopper did not get his $50K. He ended up
he took the entry fees, and it was in Vegas, and he burned the entry fees at the craps table that was meant for the payouts.
Absolutely.
Holy smokes. I didn't know about that story.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of backstories to my tournament career in the last 40 years, and that's one of them. Larry Hopper's still alive. Good guy. He's actually a friend of mine. And he got a little bit of money in payments, but he never got his $50K.
How'd you get into it 4 decades ago out on the West Coast?
Super simple. My dad, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles.
Okay.
And my dad, he was looking for something to do with his kids. And he was a bus driver for Rapid Transit District. We used to call it RTD. And he met a guy that fished a lot. I think his last name was Tally. No
relation to Frank.
But actually that's another story too. And he took us catfishing, and we caught a bunch of fish. And then so my dad thought, well, I'd like to do this again. We went to a lake called Lake Piru, and we caught some giant red ear out there, and I just loved it. My dad would wake me up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and say, you want to go fishing? I couldn't get up fast enough, which in turn, he told me I should be a firefighter because I put my clothes on so fast. And then that's how I became a firefighter.
Okay.
And then later, he would take me to places, and I would go to, Save On or Payless and buy these rubber worms. And I would walk. He would be sitting there in his chair. I call him cheese chucking, Zeke's floating bait to catch trout. And I would walk down the shore, and I'd come back with a stringer of bass. And he's like, oh, you should, they have tournaments and stuff for you. You should try tournaments fishing. Got into a bass club when I was in high school and was angler of the year, I think my first or second year of the bass club. And then I just needed something different. Started doing the one bass thing as it wasn't a co-angler then. It was boat on boat, pro on pro, but I didn't own a boat.
Mm-hmm. And, made that decision easier.
Yeah. And so I would go and learn. I mean, I'd fish with guys like, Art Price. I just some incredible fishermen back in the day, Art Price and the Westy Worm, first major tournament I fished was a U.S. bass tournament. John Murray won it at Roosevelt Lake on a Westy Worm.
Is that one of his 36 boats?
Yeah. That was probably what, and he was like, I think he's my age. So he was probably 18, 17, somewhere around there. So that's kind of when his career started. And yeah, it's just been, I've been hooked ever since. It's the drug that I just can't seem to shake.
You mentioned the Westy Worm. Is that it right there?
That's it. Yeah.
So it's like a pre-rigged shaky head for those iTunes listeners. It's like the K&E pre-rigged worm if you were to put a little bit of lead in front of it, but it's also, I don't know, you describe it. You know what it is more than that. I've never touched a thing. It's
really more of a pre-rigged Ned rig.
Okay.
And the reason why is because it's made of that high floating plastic, a lot of air bubbles in it. And so it's a super float. They call it a super float. and so it rides high. The tail rides high, and smallmouth actually love that, or I'm sorry, spotted bass actually really love that high float. And spotted bass tend to be tail biters before they eat the whole bait. And so they would get that tail, and that's how they would catch it. And if you go back to, I don't know if you've had Justin Lucas on the show.
Oh yeah,
but
some would say too many times.
Yeah. Well, Justin,
it's a joke.
He won as a co-angler at Lake Shasta but the person that he fished with the last day was Dave Noller, and he still fishes that super float. He takes a green one, he puts that little hook on there like that. And he gave Justin Lucas that bait, or I think either that or Justin actually built himself one similar to that. And that's how he caught that big bag he caught at Shasta on the last day. True story. Yeah.
That's a cool organic way that you got into it, though. I mean, that's way before there was junior Bassmasters and high school fishing and all that. That's the way I did it back in the 90s was, I was 15 years old and there's a local bass club, and my dad didn't tournament fish. The only reason I say pre-rigged worm, because my dad's bass fishing was a weighted float under a caney, pre-rigged worm down at the pond. Take a Mitchell spinning rod, slowly reel it in. And that worm just spins back there, and then it starts going off to the side, and the bass has it. But a couple of those guys in the club took me under their wing, Assumption Bass Club, and then it was kind of off and running from there. And the rest is either history or disaster, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we didn't have the high school leagues. We didn't have the college leagues. And, we want to blame forward-facing sonar, but really we need to blame the college and the high schools, because those are the guys that have really, really, made bass fishing their own. I'm getting beat by a Trey McKinney or someone like that because they've been fishing since they were, 5 years old, and then they jump in the high school deal, they jump in the college deal. How can we compete with that?
Have you it's been a while since I've been through it. I want to go through the math of time on the water. And you understand this. You had a profession for a long time where, I think of other famous West Coast firefighters, Greg Gutierrez.
Yep.
But it lends itself to being able to tournament fish with your on and off days and stuff. And then the more you get up, I know James Biggs, I think he just retired here in Texas. But okay, let's do this for basic. Let's say you are you're married with a couple kids, average American family. You got a good 9-to-5 job. So you get even 6 weeks of vacation off. Let's say you don't take any time off. It doesn't matter what it is. You're fishing a tournament every other weekend.
Right.
So that's 2 weekends a month. And let's say you're on the water Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a Nichols team series or anything like that. So that's 6 days a month that you're on the water, but that's every other weekend, 3 days. It's a lot, isn't it, Todd?
It is. And it's almost impossible if you have a family. Yeah.
So if you multiply that times 12, that's not taking off Christmas or your birthday or your wife's birthday or the company parties or anything. That's 72 days a year.
Yeah.
Now, let's take, but when you actually look at it, it makes sense as to why we're seeing and why we have seen, people forget Polinick was in this, Wheelers, DC's, Lucas's, list goes on.
Absolutely.
Forward facing definitely accelerated it, but it was before. So let's say you don't have a job, you're out of that. And let's just say for 2 years, you don't really have to mess with that. And you're on the water 5 days a week. That's still taking off 2 days.
Yes.
So that's 20 days a month. So that's 240 days a year.
All right.
So if you do that for 2 years, you're on the water 480 days a year, as opposed to 140 days for the weekend guy who's exceptionally dedicated to that. The more you extrapolate that, the more days it is. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a guy who's 20, who's been doing it for 2 years, and it takes you 12 years to have the same number of days on the water that a 21-year-old's had on the water since he was 19.
And the beauty about that is you can compare that. And I know you're a golfer also. I'm also a golfer. You can compare that with any sport and any, you can compare that in the chess league.
Mm-hmm.
If you're golfing or if you're, Stephen Curry, you're not, the average guy isn't shooting half quarters. They're not shooting half quarters 100 times a day, and so why is he so good? Because of the time that he's spending out doing his craft. Tiger Woods is another example. His dad had him out there at freaking 5 years old.
Wasn't he on like the Johnny Carson show when he was like 3 sinking putts or something?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing, but at the same time, you have to be willing to say, yeah, this is what I want to do. If you're only half-ass in it, then it's not gonna pan out.
Yeah. We're talking with Big Daddy Todd Woods. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, I'd like to know how you got the nickname Big Daddy. And I also want to dive into, you have some very interesting tournament wins, including, and for a guy who has won from the front of the boat at the Toyota series level, Costa, Everstart, whatever you want to call it, back through the days, you don't often see him circle back and score a co-angler win, which you knocked out in 2023. So I would love to get the story of how you reverse engineered winning a Toyota from the front of the boat and then winning one from the back of the boat 8 years later. So it's BTL with Todd Woods. We will be back right after this. Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's 2 best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top 100, Strike King.
Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
Beatdown is efficient.
Rock solid.
100% American made. This thing is super tough. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere.
I've ran the Beatdown double stack from Florida all the way up to New York. And the one thing that I know is when I get to my fishing destination, I never have to worry about issues with my graph mount.
Your options are endless with these mounts, but they're steady, they're solid. These are the most reliable mounts on the market, and you can't go wrong with the Beatdown.
When you're ready to hit the water, Denali Fishing has you covered. Regardless of your skill level, from beginner all the way up to tournament pro, Denali has rods, reels, and tungsten to get the job done. Check them out at denalifishing.com.
Welcome back to BTL. Chatting with Big Daddy Todd Woods. And like I mentioned before the break, I'd be interested in knowing how one acquires the nickname of Big Daddy in the fishing world.
It's one of those stories where I got a buddy that used to fish FLW back in the day, Art Berry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that name. He actually still fishes. He's still a good fisherman. He fishes with his son a lot.
Oh, he'd be a good guest on BTL.
Yeah, he would be an excellent guest, actually. But he would just call me Big Daddy. For some reason he would call me Big Daddy, and I don't know why. But
Those are the best nicknames.
yeah, and so after that I would start calling people, because we actually fished team tournaments together back in the day, and I started calling people Big Daddy. And when you start calling people something, they start calling it back to you, and next thing you know, I'm Todd Big Daddy Woods. That's it.
I like it. All right, next question. How does one go about winning a Toyota series from the front of the boat and then 6 years later winning one from the back of the boat?
Yeah, no, that was by far one of the funnest tournaments I have fished in my 40 years of tournament fishing. So there was a look at that, Todd Klein. That's my dude right there. That's a great picture.
His former like pro surfer buddies with like Kelly Slater, still does like play-by-play and stuff for surfing. Yeah. I get a drink and a burger with him every time I'm in that neck of the woods. All right.
Cool dude, great fisherman. Yeah, I love that guy. But anyway, so I was driving to Lake Havasu. Again, I was in one of my sabbatical states where I'm like, you know what? I got a tournament coming up. I think it was a one bass a couple weeks later. I can't remember what it was, but I was driving to Havasu purely just for fun. And, I think we were kind of low on money and whatnot, so I didn't want to get in as a pro. And I called the tournament director. God, I've already forgot his name. I
can't help you there.
Yeah, I called the tournament director, Alan Gray. There we go.
Oh, yeah, yep. I should have known that. He's legendary.
Great dude. Great dude. But anyway, I called him up, and I said, hey, I'm on my way up, just to have fun and play on the lake. And I said, if you need any observers or anything, because sometimes, you got the odd man out, I would love to jump in the boat with someone.
Okay.
And he says, man, we could really use co-anglers right now. We're low, like 15 co-anglers. And I was like, well, let me call the wife, because this is another, $400 or whatever it was out of my pocket. So I called her and she said, what do you want to do? I go, well, I want to fish. And so I jumped in. I sent my money in. I jumped in. And the first day I drew, I think he's a Asian angler.
Tayao?
No, Kadami, Kazuki. He's got like a purple. He's an English. I should have had his name ready. He's an English Marine Pro staffer.
Okay.
Kazuki, Kadami, or something like that. I can't remember. Excellent fisherman. And the first thing he said to me, he actually has an interpreter, and his interpreter was standing right there. And the first thing his interpreter says to me is, "Why are you fishing this? You should be fishing as a pro." And I'm like, I'm just here for fun, And then the second thing the interpreter says to me from him was, do you have any spots we can fish? I'm like, yeah, I got a few, this is kind of my time of the year. And so, I got a couple. And so the first spot we pulled up to, he was throwing a Nico. This is kind of a funny story. And we didn't catch a fish there, but he was throwing a Nico rig. And I think the tournament was in January or February.
February 2nd through 4th.
Yeah. And he's throwing a Nico rig in this cove. He goes, yeah, I caught 5-pounder in here, And pardon my, Asian accent there. But I'm looking in the cove and I look in the back and I go, look. The fish were busting in the back of this cove that we were in. And he goes, striper. I'm like,
Kazuki Kadama.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, great guy. Yeah. And so he doesn't go in there. And finally he's going through there with his Nico rig, and finally he gets to the back, and I'm throwing this bait right here.
Hold on a second. That looks like a bass tricks to me.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a hollow belly because I'm sponsored by Berkeley.
Yeah.
But yeah, a hollow belly bait, and I catch one back there, but it was a striper. But I promise you, if we would have got there sooner, we probably could have caught some nice smallmouth in the back of this cove. Yeah, because they run together. Stripers and smallmouth run together all the time that time of the year. And so we left from there, we went to another spot, And then he pulls into this cove that I completely know how it's set up and everything. And he's fishing a swim bait. And nice striper. He's fishing a swim bait, and he misses one. You know, he says some like I got bit, but he says it in Japanese.
Yep.
And he goes in the cove, and I throw my hollow body on the back of the boat, and I catch that fish. And they're probably one of those smallmouth I'm holding up. Well, probably not, because it was the first day. But anyway, and so then we start running spots, and I give him a couple spots, and I've got 4 fish, and it's toward the end of the day. And he goes, "Do you have any more spots?" I go, "Yeah, I've got one really good spot." And we pull in there, and I catch my 5th fish, and that was it. I had 5 bites. He had 3, I think, and landed 1. And that was the day. I think I had 15 pounds the first day or so. You're going to tell me, I know. What did I have the first day?
I don't. Oh, I was looking at it. I'm on. I had this queued up because this is that's a badass photo. You don't see that very often with the Konami patch on the Hawaiian Mahi Mahi Pompano shirt.
With the popular Chris Jones.
Yeah, look at how young Chris Jones is. You got the Konami thing going on. I remember when Steve Kenny was with him. I don't think that didn't end very well with Konami.
That was 2006 at Havasu.
Yeah. I thought that was a great picture. That with the Konami baits. All right, let's get this and see how much you actually
That's
had.
awesome.
So
what did I have the first day? 15?
Had results. Day 1. We're working on it. Co-angler. Oh, we got to do day 3 so I can show it all. Yeah, there you go. You had 13, 14.
13, 14. Okay. And
this is a roller coaster. We're just a third of the way through this story because I just saw what happened on day 2.
Yeah. So day 2, here's the crazy part. So day 2, I draw my good buddy, Tony Lane.
Okay.
And Tony used to live out this way. He moved to Havasu. He's been living in Havasu for quite a few years. And Tony had been catching between 15 and 17 pounds a day in the previous days and team tournaments, and I think he caught him good the first day of that derby also. Right? Am I right?
I think so. I got to go back to
Tony Lane, Lain.
Yeah, he was decent. He was in top 20 at 17-12.
Yeah, 17 pounds. Yeah, he's been catching that consistently, practice and everything, but unfortunately, he doesn't cover his hooks up in practice. Okay.
Like, if it bites it, it's coming in the damn boat.
At Lake Havasu, that's all you get. You don't get a second fish, and that's why when we were talking about Roy the other day, not making a cast or not making a crankbait cast, you don't catch those crankbait fish during the tournament if you catch them in practice.
Yeah, that was a baller move, I thought.
Yeah. So and similar to the year that I won the Arizona Open, but
so anyway. He blistered him on day 1.
Yeah, so he blistered him, and so day 2, I hate to say this, I hate to use the term backseat, but he had the right angle on everything the second day. I mean, the right angle. And I don't want to say backseat, but he had good angles, and he was fishing grass, and he caught 2 fish, fishing his A1 water. And we pulled up to the back of this cut, completely on the other end of Havasu on the south end. And he pulled into this cove where it was super narrow to get in. And when he went in, I was able to make a cast on the back of the boat, straight back of the boat.
Yeah.
And I caught the smallmouth, and I saw there was 2 more with it when I caught the one. And then I ended up catching one of the other ones. And that's how I caught my 2 fish.
2 for 410. But that was a brutal day on co-anglers. That was still one of the better co-angler days on day 2.
And I'm still leading it,
Yeah.
And so the third day I drew Todd Klein, and first thing, I can't remember what his words were, but something to the effect of when we went to go talk it out, he's like,
because you fish against him for years.
Oh yeah. And he's been a co-angler also, And I've fished
Or
with
you,
coanglers.
okay. So he's been your co-angler, and now you're his co-angler.
Yeah, and he's won a couple of times. And I'd have fished with some really, really good co-anglers. And when I use the term good, I've also fished with some really aggressive co-anglers. I think Justin Lucas was the kind of guy, and don't get me, I don't have any proof to this, but I'm sure Todd Klein was probably this way, that some of these guys would make a cast before you would get out of your seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're there to catch him.
Yes, which is perfectly legal, but it's aggressive, you know? And I'm not that way. I tried to fish, you know, almost like the, what was the name of that tournament they used to have with two guys, match
ultimate match fishing, where they put the center line in the boat, and if you cast in front, penalty.
That's how I would fish. I would stay away from the center line. And so anyway, so Todd had caught, I think he caught like a 7 or 8 pounder or something like that the second day.
Good Lord.
A big one. And so he had some largemouth.
Yeah, he had 23 on the second day.
Yeah, he was smashing them, you know. And so he had some largemouth going, and we had actually guys following us, you know, wanting to know what Todd was doing. And we went 10 o'clock with both of us with 0 fish. And Todd says, okay, time. I don't want to lose this deal. Let's go fish for smallmouth. And that was like right up my alley because I was able to drag that hollow belly. You know, Todd was fishing a Cool Baits underspin.
Yeah, that's like the West Coast deal. Like that, it seems like everyone out there throws the Cool Baits. They are expensive as hell, I'll tell you that. But I will also say it spins.
It's painful to fish too because he's like throwing it on 5-pound test. I'm throwing this on 14-pound test. And he's throwing it in the front of the boat. He's a little bit of active target, but not a lot. And he's just dragging it, spinning rod on the bottom. And when he gets bit, it's like seemed like a 10-minute, you know, with a 5-pound test. You catch a 4-pound smallie, and it's taking you a while to get that fish in, you know. And the first spot we pull into, he catches 3, loses 1. I think I caught 1 from the back of the boat, 1 or 2, I can't remember. And I think 1. And we leave there, go to another smallmouth spot, and I'm throwing my bass tricks off the back, and I catch another one from the back of the boat, like a 4-pounder, and I knew I won at that point. I figured if I caught 2 fish, because now, you know, it's not like one bass. We're competing against the top 10, I think, in that one, or maybe the top 25. I can't remember.
I think it was, top 10 on the final day or something, but you had a 4-pound lead going into the final day. Yeah,
so with those 2 fish, I figured I had won. Todd still grinding to catch, you know, I think he had 5 when I had 2, and he's still, you know, and he's still grinding away. And I end up catching 2 more. I think I ended up with 4 fish the last day. And I think he caught like 9 or 10 fish, and he lost 2 really, really good ones. And that was our day. I caught every fish in the whole tournament was caught on a hollow belly swim bait.
What's also ironic though is Todd won 28 for that, and your prize was valued at 33.5.
Yeah,
more out of the back than Todd did out of the front.
Yeah. How about that? My wife was so excited. I sold that boat.
Yeah,
and I sold that boat like you had to order it. You got a certificate.
Yeah,
you know,
and they try to order it. And
they try to offer you $20,000 for the certificate. I sold that boat for $31,000, so I think I made the right move by.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Selling that boat. And
you mentioned you had a second place. I don't know if that was on air or before air, but you do have a second place in the US Open. We've talked a little bit about the US Open in the first segment. Is part of what is keeping you going on this, winning a US Open, getting your hands on winning a trophy? Is that still is that a goal of yours?
No. You know, my goal is to win every tournament I fish. I don't care if it's a Wednesday nighter. You know, I think I keep in the back of my mind after I finish a tournament, and when I do really, really poorly, I say to myself, you can't compete, you suck, you're done. You know, I have all this. And as I'm driving home,
the same.
Yeah. And then as I'm driving home 4 or 5 hours, I'm like, you're really not that bad. You know,
I was close to it. Then you talk to a couple buddies and you realize you're only 100 yards away, or that you just missed one thing. And then you could talk yourself into it. Well, I had it. I was in the right part of the lake. It was just that one little thing that led me astray.
should have been throwing margarita mutilator,
Yeah.
Totally. That's my life, and I'm lucky that I have a great relationship with my wife because, so I've told her I've quit so many times and then I don't. But yeah, no, I want to win every tournament. I think when I don't think I can win anymore, permanently, then that's when I'll quit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of the things I know you're very passionate about, you actually mentioned it when you said, "Hey, I want to jump on BTL." It wasn't to talk about you or your accomplishments or what you've done or anything. You said, "I want a segment on BTL so I can talk about Cast for Kids."
Absolutely, man.
And I
Yeah.
want to segue into that and kind of give you the floor for that. If you're a BTL listener, you know how passionate I am about the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. We raise money for that. This Cast for Kids thing, equally important and beneficial. So go ahead and kind of dive into that. I'll pull the website up as you talk about it, Todd.
Yeah. Well, going back what you're saying about, I've after 40 years of bass fishing, I've tried to make it all about me. About who I am, getting sponsors and ego. I've got a huge ego. And at some point, one of the guys that I probably have admired in tournament fishing so much would be Jay Ellis, and
Yep.
Jay, when I've been watching Jay I used to compete against Jay in the BFLs back in the day. He used to dominate the Colorado River Division,
Oregon guy.
living out of his van. And he's the executive director for Cast for Kids. And I have never seen anyone so passionate about watching a special needs kid catch a fish than any other guy that I can think of. Well, there's Jim Binkin also. But that being said, I was able to become a volunteer at Cast for Kids last year. And Jay brought me on board as the Arizona, California regional director. And what Cast for Kids is, it's a foundation that it's all about special needs, underprivileged kids, kids that just they need more love than we can give them. And we basically give them love by putting together an event that's 99% volunteer. We get volunteers that'll come out, whether it's a boat event or a shore event. We give a special needs kids a special opportunity to catch a fish. It can be a carp, a turtle, a frog. It's just the opportunity to actually pull on something, and a lot of it just changes their lives, not only for the kid but also for the parents. The parents just absolutely love it. And it's a nonprofit. It's like we're like one of the best nonprofits around as far as how we do things, fully bonded, fully insured. And it's an experience that we actually, it's actually like a Bassmaster Classic for the special needs kids. They catch a fish. We give them a trophy plaque with their picture on it. We celebrate them. We give them an opportunity to speak if they want to. It's just an awesome event. And I've got a couple events. I actually have one in Westlake Village coming up. I think it's June 21st. I got a couple. I got one in Cucamonga, Guasti, which is in the Ontario area, coming up in September. I've got another event, I think November 1st in Laguna Hills. Mm-hmm. And you can, that's the.
You can go to Cast for Kids, CASTFORKIDS.org. They have a really good website, really easy if you have someone or know someone or have a family member who would like to become a part of this or volunteer even, right? Like if you're a bass guy who wants to jump in this, and
we need volunteers. We need guys we have guys that'll bring their boats. There's like 50 events in Texas. I'm trying to really grow the Texas, Arizona area. We just had the largest event of the whole Cast for Kids at Lake Pleasant, Arizona, in the month of March, which was, I think we had like 60 kids there, which is a lot. And it takes about $8,000 to run an event. And so we take donations. We have a lot of great sponsors, but we also take, I've got a Facebook page, and for my event that I've got coming up, I've raised about $5,000 so far. I'm about $3,000 short for my September event. So you can reach out to me at Todd at castforkids.org. And donations are great. We're looking for sponsorships. We're definitely looking for ways to grow the Cast for Kids organizations to just give kids the opportunity to catch a fish. I mean, kids with special needs are probably the number one discriminated group of people. Everybody they don't know how to act around, people that they see that are different than them. And so we just bring a wonderful day, to the kids, and they absolutely love it. And the other great thing is it will change your life. If you do something as a volunteer, there's Jay, you do something as a volunteer, it will, I guarantee you, it will change your life 100%. If it doesn't, I want to say I'll give you your money back, but you're going as a volunteer. So
I did not realize how many Cast for Kids events there are. Like there's 6 in Oklahoma already. Obviously, a lot of Texas with where Jay is located now. But I mean, to me, it looked like there were hundreds of events across the country from the East Coast. From the East Coast all the way. Like if you click on the Find the Events tab there, that's coast to coast, north to south, right there.
Our coordinators, we have great coordinators. We also have our directors from different parts of the country. And it's so funny. Jay actually lives in Oregon now. He moved back to Oregon.
Okay.
Jim Binkin, who's the guy from Texas. I mean, he's an amazing person. He's kind of one of those guys where he reeks just smiles and excitement, and it's contagious. Yeah. So it is amazing that we have so many different events. But yet there's so many people that don't know about it. I realized that I have family and good friends with people with disabilities. So when I told them that I was doing this Cast for Kids, I got an awesome response from different people. Oh, let me know when the next event ends. When's the closest event? I want to volunteer. I want to be a shore volunteer. I want to bring my boat. I want to donate. Most of the $4,000 of the $5,000 that I raised of people just from Facebook sending me $25, $50, $100. So yeah, it's been an amazing. I can't wait. I want to be like Jim. I want to put 50 events out next year, and that was the reason for my quote unquote retirement. I think the one bass tournament at Lake Mead, I can't make it because I got a Cast for Kids event. I think on the Saturday before or the Saturday after, and when Billy moved the date to October 6th, that freed me up, to fish that tournament. But yeah, I'm all in on the Cast for Kids thing. Like I said, I just want to give back, for all the 40 selfish years that I put in bass fishing. I want to
really cool ways to give here. It's super simple. You can just click it on the ways to give, donate. You can do something in honor or in memory of someone. You can make it a part of your estate planning, workplace matching, and then there's support an event, volunteer, in-kind support, all sorts of stuff you can do there. Plus, I mean, you're on the water, you're fishing. You've been doing this a long time. It is cool to watch someone catch their first fish. To watch, I mean, at that moment, like I try not to be too like hippie on this stuff, but like there is something about at times, like literally the here and the now, like being 100% present in a moment. And I think to me, that is why fishermen who have horrible memories on what they're supposed to get for dinner or bring home or what their passwords are can remember every minute detail of fish catches, whether you catch them or lose them or things from 20 years ago, because the brain's an amazing thing. And you are 100% present in that moment when that fish bites, and the brain's amazing. And it's cool to watch someone else where that you just, that pure joy that is imprinted in their brain forever. And for that moment, while it's happening there, it doesn't matter what their disability is, what their struggles are, what they're going through, anything. It's the exact same feeling that everybody feels like when that clicks in your brain and you're 100% focused on that fish on the end of your line.
Yeah. And I'm a lifer, it's funny. I've remembered more of the fish that I've lost than the ones I've caught. But yeah, to be able to, and now I can put that memory to watching someone catch their first fish, like you said. And And that being said, I noticed you have almost 20,000 subscribers. Okay. And I guarantee you, everybody's got $1 in their change in their vehicle. If everybody donated $1, that would be $20,000 to Cast for Kids. Okay. For a kid to get that lifetime experience. Now, we know that, people don't donate $1 generally. It's the night to 20,000. It's usually the 100 people that donate the, $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's how simple it is. Fun to raise funds. Every dollar counts, So I challenge you guys to donate $1, just $1. Every subscriber donate $1, and you'll change the life of a Cast for Kids kid.
If they want to get involved with you directly, again, just go ahead and tell your details, and then I will leave a link for the castforkids.org and stuff on the description, the MP3 and the YouTube description of this show.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man.
What are your personal details again, to either send you a message on Facebook or?
Yeah, Facebook, Todd at castforkids.org.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest. Or you can find me just by going on the website that you just put up, the castforkids.org. I'm easy to find, and I love talking fishing. I love talking Cast for Kids. I just love, that's the other thing. I'm very, very blessed. I did a fundraiser for Aaron Martens, for his family back in the day. And I don't know how much money we raised. We raised a lot of money. And I was the hub. My address was the hub for all the anglers to send their jerseys in.
Mm-hmm.
We did a jersey auction, on eBay. And we received I don't know if there was a Guinness Book of Records for pro anglers. I think we had over 80 to 100 jerseys from people.
Wow.
In it. Yeah. And we auctioned all of them and all the money. I don't even know how much money Leslie ended up getting from that deal. But it was a lot. Well, yeah, I was part of that. I was a big, huge part of that jersey.
I'm looking at it in the background. I know a lot of the, after Aaron passed in 21, a lot of the anglers had the stickers on their boats, with his birth date and passing. I see in the background there. Yeah. And I remember thinking before he went live, man, it's hard to believe. Everyone in the industry still talks about him so much in the present tense. Yes. And I think that's a testament to how much of an impact Aaron had on this sport, both professionally, but more so personally. That was November 4th, 2001. And here we are, May 21st, 2025. And his, it's easy to say right after someone, hey, their impact will be felt for a long time. Dude, for Aaron, my God, it still amazes me how often he just comes up organically in conversations in 8, 10, in all the different circles across the country.
Well, that was a neat thing about Aaron. He was so good at not only fishing, but his communication skills. When you talk to him for 5 minutes, you thought you were talking to your best friend.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that would say, oh yeah, man, I knew Aaron. Well, yeah, I felt that way. I felt like I knew him more than just from an angling standpoint, but that I knew his mom. I mean, we had a pretty good relationship, but not like we didn't talk every week. We didn't, I might have talked to him once every 5 years. He was just a great, great guy. And one quick story about him is he was on, you remember the Bassmaster days when they would have you on live? He was fishing on a live. He was doing a live program. And I don't think he was competing with another angler or something. And I called him on his phone while he was fishing, and he answered.
Hey, bro. No, dude, I'm live. I'm fishing. No, right now.
Yeah, I'm watching him on TV.
Bro. No worries, bro. No worries. Oh, that is. I remember one time we were watching a fish, and we were on. I was just shooting photos. Obviously, it is Elite Series. They were on Clark's Hill, and he was skipping docks, and he had put new. This was a long time ago. This was before braid on the spinning rods. He was still using straight fluoro. Might have even been mono. Anyway, he had spooled 3 of them up, and he was not pleased with the line management on the spool. And he was skipping a little shaky head around docks.
Yeah.
And he sat down and re-spooled 3 full spinning rods with fresh fluorocarbon. And I bet it took him 28 minutes while he just sat there and had a conversation with us. And then he got up and started fishing again. It was Ken Duke who said that that it would be amazing what Aaron could have done had he fished as much as everyone else. Because it was amazing what he accomplished. And I remember one time on Lake Jordan in a postseason event, he gut hooked a spotted bass and the thing died. And he spent half an hour like icing it, wrapping it up in a towel, figuring out like what he could do with it and stuff. And like, I bet he probably lost an hour trying to save that fish.
Yeah, he was like Rain Man. Basically.
Yeah.
That should have been his nickname. He would do stuff like when he would go camping with his family, he would pick up a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake wouldn't bite him, almost like he was just a part of. That's why they call him the natural. He was a part of the environment. He was something else. Definitely.
When they did the postseason event in Illinois, in Decatur, Illinois, he found out that one of the dudes in our bass club's wife was also a runner, and every morning before the tournament, he'd meet her at the walkway down by the lake, and they'd do laps around the lake.
Yeah.
Or after every single day of competition and before every day of practice, like 5 a.m. and after, and then like they all went out to dinner and ate at dinner at the end. He had never met him before they got there.
That's Aaron. Yeah.
So
crazy. Good stuff.
Oh, I do have like a couple fishing questions. You got time for that?
Bring it. I'll do it all day.
I am curious on your thoughts on the jig head minnow out west.
Man, I got to get better at it. That's the deal. I got to get better at it. That's one of the things. I don't let something like some people, I know they say, oh, that's the reason why that person quit. I'm kind of a guy that I have to get better at it. It doesn't matter if I'm fun fishing or fishing in a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we just had a team. We had a 2-day team tournament at one of it was at Diamond Valley Lake, which I know some of your listeners have probably heard of. And the other one was at Lake Paris. They did a 2-dayer, and the guy that won it for 2 days. Now this is California. This is not even technically, this is post spawn. Okay. The guy had 60 pounds for 10 fish, 2 different lakes. He had a 10 at one lake, and it was actually Dave Valdivia. I don't know if you've heard that name. He's been Angler of the Year, I think, for Toyota Series from back in the day. But he had 60 pounds. Him and his partner had 60 pounds for 2 days, and I'm guessing they caught him on a jig head minnow. And then we had another guy catch almost 40 pounds recently, pre-spawn at that same lake, Lake Paris.
Mm-hmm.
JD Blackmore. He had like a 40-pound bag.
That name always seems to pop up on the West. I don't know him personally, but
yeah, good angler. He caught a 12-pounder at the last Delta Toyota Series.
And then what John Pearl did at Clear Lake, obviously.
Yeah, boy, did I miss the boat on that deal.
Did you fish that one?
I fished that one. I had a 30-pound bag in practice. I thought I was going to smash him. That would have been the one. Hey, call me afterwards. I'll show you my trophy, And I sucked the first day. I caught 25 pounds the second day, which everybody just laughed at me with 25-pound bag on the second day. And then the third day I caught, I don't know, 12 or 13 pounds, threw my fish back, and I did a Hinch Monroe and went home.
I did that for the first time ever this year. It felt amazing.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
People are like, what about your sponsors? Your sponsors don't want to know I caught 6 pounds, 30 pounds.
It was very liberating.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so jig head minnow. I mean, is it the most influential bait that has hit the West Coast since the drop shot?
Yeah, drop shot. Alabama rig. Remember, we were going to ban the Alabama rig, which they did still in some of the.
Yeah, didn't you almost win the U.S. Open on an A rig?
Yeah, close. The third day I caught him on the first day I caught him on this deal. I've won over $200,000 on this bait.
On the hollow bottom.
That U.S. Open, I caught him doing that, and then the third day, a storm came through. Clifford Perch had a 9-pound lead on me the first day. And so all he had to do was go catch 6 pounds the other 2 days.
Yeah.
Third day, we had a storm come through the night before. I found some bait. I ended up throwing an A-rig with hollow bellies and catching what I caught to move me up to second place, which is another one of those stories where everything's got to go right. I'm in a 10-year-old boat, and I'm up in the Overton arm, and I knew I could catch a big fish, over 4-pounder in Vegas Wash, but it would only be one fish. And so because I was in a 10-year boat, that I had like 10 pounds this third day, and I thought, I should go run to the Vegas Wash. Well, I chickened out because I thought I might break down on the way there, and so I ended up not doing it. That cost me. It could have cost me not winning the U.S. Open in that year.
Huh.
So, yeah, that might have been the one.
Interesting. How many more years are you gonna fish before you totally retire? Then I think you've probably got another good 20 years in you.
I'll fish a club. I'm thinking about getting back into club fishing. I just love to fish.
I know that. How old are you?
I'm 61.
Okay, yeah. No, you're very young, 61.
Yeah, my body, I hurt a lot. I played football back in the day. I played a little bit of college football. So I've had 2 knee surgeries. I've had my elbow. I can't straighten my arm out all the way. I'm pretty beat up as far as my body's concerned. So that's the other problem. And I don't sleep well. So my biggest problem is sleep and pain. So I if I could get healthy, I'd fish until I was 80 years old.
When you won on Havasu,
I won the very first Arizona Open, one bass.
Yeah. Did you fish around London Bridge?
No, I actually fished in Havasu Marina.
Okay.
So that's another story. You talk about the mind games that things happen you have to get an advantage of some sort most of the time to win. Kind of like Roy's advantage of the way he sets his way up.
Like he just assumes he's not gonna worry about it. I know he deep faith and that,
Absolutely.
But to me, Roy just knows, you know what? I might suck 6 or 7 in a row, but I'll pop one and everything will be fine.
Yeah, I'll make 40 grand.
Manifest it.
Yeah. So when I won the Arizona Open, what happened was, and then I love telling the story because, people are like, I won it in the marina, in the Havasu Marina.
Okay.
And what happened was, and this is where the mind plays, where you have to be smart. 2 weeks before the tournament, there was a organization called Bass Junkies. They had a 2-day tournament at Havasu in the Havasu Marina launch ramp. They dumped every fish in the marina from that tournament.
Is that the marina right there?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a giant ass marina. I've never actually seen it. That thing looks huge.
Yeah. And you just find the grass patch. And if you find the grass patch, it's going to be loaded. And that's what happened. So if you look to the right of that picture, that ramp, that's where they had the tournament right out of that.
Okay.
And then the release boat dumped all the fish basically in the marina.
They didn't take them out into the.
They didn't take them out anywhere. I don't know if because the wind was blowing or whatnot. And
Interesting.
So and you can go all the way back to a Bassmaster in 1986 or something when Ted Miller won. You remember that one? He won it in that marina. It's actually, you can probably YouTube that deal. Ted Miller won a Bassmasters in that marina with like
TED or TEB?
TED Miller, Miller, Arizona. It was the Arizona Bassmasters. And he won it with like 20 pounds or something like that for 3 days. I mean, something ridiculous. He caught a couple in the marina. So that marina's always got fish in it, but it was loaded when I won. And I knew it was loaded. And me and another guy knew it was loaded. And that's the reason why I was so successful in that tournament.
Yeah, that was smart. Let's see if we can get it down to my goodness. Look at this. This has to be oh no, this is actually on Bassmaster.
Yeah, it's a Bassmaster.
There it is, right there.
That's it. Ted Miller.
How about that?
Apache Junction, Arizona. Second day, he went in to fish the walls. I over there across from Cattail Cove. But look at the shorts. There's a marina. There it is.
That's wild. Oh,
he's hooked up.
He was dead sticking that on the spinning rod.
Yeah.
Now I gotta see what happens. I'm gonna have to go back and oh, yep, there you go.
Yeah, you gotta watch that one. That's a good watch.
Interesting. So that was a little history lesson that paid off for you.
Yeah. I can go back a long ways on the the mind game part of it. And
what's your biggest red ear out of there?
Mojave, because I don't fish a lot of tournaments in Mojave. I'm gonna put a lot of time in this one. I think learn scoping. I'm just gonna do like they say. Back in the day, they would tell you, "Oh, you want to be good at a jig? Put 2 jigged rods in your boat and not other thing, and go fishing.
You put a minnow and some dice and a drop shot in your boat, and don't fish anything else."
Yes, sir. Exactly. That's what.
Well, I'd have to say 2 minnows, a Nico, and a drop shot.
Yeah. They eat a Ned rig too. There, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got. Where is it? Oh, this is the next thing that I have no idea what to do with.
Kyle bought a couple of those for like $80 a piece about 6 months ago.
Yeah. So I was in the boat with the guys from. This is the Coke Full Cast. I was in the boat with these guys at Havasu.
Yeah.
And, I got the way to rig it and stuff like that. But I think there's a part of us, Todd, that are a little bit shell shocked now because we don't want to miss the next chatterbait. We don't want to miss the next whopper plopper. We don't want to miss the next Alabama rig.
I'll stick with this right here, bro.
What do you do different? What do you do with that makes you so much? I mean, it's a bait that you see a lot of guys just throw on the Tennessee River during the post-spawn period when they're on shell beds. What?
It's like anything, okay? It's like any bait. They like it. You got to move it around. It's just you got to treat it like it's a bait fish. Sometimes bait fish are on the bottom. Sometimes they're looking up at it. You just have to figure out when you get so dialed in at a bait, like Aaron with a drop shot. You just get it. The right pound test, the right rod. I mean, everything has to just be, to where what that bait's doing when you're reeling it in. Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel.
There's a website, D Stewart Fishing has an article out, so I want to make sure I give them credit. But there you are. I mean, I see a lot of those look like Berkeley hollow bellies.
Yeah.
And then that's the Spin Tricks head. There are a number of different heads on it.
Yeah, I use that Spin Tricks head a lot. And the Dirty Water Gold, something special about gold.
Yeah. But anyway, if you guys are interested in learning all about that, dstewartfishing.com/being the bait, bait. It's like a really cool article that goes through like your whole kind of history and what you do and stuff with it. Whatever happened to Enigma and Jesse Tacarante?
Man, I think Jesse went, I'm always amazed when people get burned out. I think he got burned out. I think Enigma, he still sells his rods on eBay. Jesse's a good friend of mine. Actually, he used to be from Vegas years ago, and he moved to in Florida now. I think
he used to do all their social media for a couple of years on there. That's how I would have to interview Aaron after every single day of competition for the Enigma breakdown. And I know some days we would want to get back and Aaron would be going off on like the stinging nettles plant that was in the bush next to us. And I would be like, all right, pause, cut. All right, Aaron, let's focus on what happened on the wall. Or he'd be like, oh, look at that duck. And we'd be like, all right, let's focus on the rods.
Exactly. No, they're still around, I believe. Yeah, Jesse's a good guy. He was Bassmaster guy. He fished the Elite
Series. Yeah, he fished the Elite Series and then got a medical exemption for a year, came back for a little, stepped away. Always been a good dude. It was one of those rods. I remember it came out. They had the matte gray, one of the first matte gray microwave guides. Aaron had a couple different versions of it.
A fluorescent rod. I used to have a couple of rods around here somewhere. Yeah, I think there's one back there. Yeah, they're good people. Jesse stayed at his house at one of the ICASTs in Florida a couple times.
Yeah.
Good dude. He took me to New Canansville or New something in Florida, and we caught like a 40-pound bag on what's Andre's worm on a skinny dipper, throwing a skinny dipper in between the little isolated stuff, and we smashed them. That's probably one of my biggest by far my biggest bag I've ever caught in any, fun fishing.
Yeah. What's your biggest derby bag?
32 pounds, and that was at when I won Clear Lake Derby. I had 77 pounds. I had 60 pounds in 2 days. The first 2 days I had 60 pounds.
Just calling sixes.
Yeah. I didn't even weigh a big bass. Yeah, I didn't even have a big bass to weigh, and it was just unreal. 32. And then the second day I had 27 and some change. So I had 60, and then I almost blew it. That's a great video. There's a video out on that with the MLF of me really struggling the third day. And then I finally find them and the day's almost over. I find them in the spot they were in when they were the first 2 days I caught them in. I ended up catching 16 pounds and beating Roy Hawk. Roy Hawk came in second in that one.
Roy's got to be one of the top 5 nice guys in the sport.
Maybe the number one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's always been like that from day one. He's one of the few guys who it does not matter whether he just weighed in 25 or whether he just weighed in 5 or is in last. Like, it's got to suck inside, but the dude is always genuinely positive.
I don't think there's a negative bone in his body, that's what I love about him. You put it perfectly. He is the nicest guy in the world. I don't think he's like us. I don't think he gets upset.
I would like to consider myself a positive guy, but I'm not. Like when I suck, like I go back and the first thing I want to do is I want to crack an ice cold Coors Light and I want to bitch about my day.
Yeah.
That's just what I want to do.
The hardest thing for me is to smile when I walk up with that 4-pound bag. I have to tell myself, okay, smile.
Yep.
Don't be mad.
Yep.
Most of the time it doesn't work.
I had one time where I had a meltdown at an open. I've had one time that I wish I could take back. I broke a couple rods. I slammed a trolling motor down. I power idled out, and a couple guys saw me and stuff. And I immediately regretted that I put my co-angler in that position. What happened was I stopped outside. I was close to making the Elite Series. It was halfway through the year. I was fishing for points. I stop outside with the check-in. I think I've got 9 minutes left. I've only got 3 minutes left. So I think I'm going in 6 minutes early. I'm actually going in 3 minutes late. I was looking at a watch that hadn't reset. So the guy's like, you're 3 minutes late. I think he's joking. He's not joking. Then I realize it. I know it's going to cost me a check. It could cost me the Elite Series. And I just had a meltdown. Yeah. I was slamming, so much so that Ike Anelli saw it, called me afterwards to express how impressed he was with my level of meltdown.
That's classic.
I have the footage of Ike Anelli saying, dude, I respect that meltdown.
Yeah.
I had to get a new bracket for the trolling, but it was the one time where I realized, man, I didn't need to put my co-angler in that position. Yeah. But yeah, it happens.
I've never been late in 40 years. I've never been late to a tournament.
You got to knock. You got some. I see a wood frame there. You better knock on that.
Yeah, knock on woods.
Yeah.
I keep.
Oh yeah, your last name. There you go.
Yeah. I keep a label maker, and when they give me my number and my time, I always put the time. I make a label and I put it on my Lowrance graph.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It on there. Yeah, and that's what.
Dude, I've never heard of that. That's brilliant, Todd.
Yeah, I put my number and my time. I tape it to my Lowrance and label it.
Yeah, you also have to make sure sometimes those Lowrances will say time updated by GPS.
Yeah, that's why you want to make sure you have an Apple Watch because they're always accurate.
Yep, Apple Watch is always right. So I carry a secondary watch now. It's just a thing. There's 1 or 2 times during the day, a 30-second period. If you happen to look at it when it's been outside of its cycle, all the graphs do it like that. It's not completely caught up. It'll get you. It's gotten Casey Ashley before. That's why he had to take off in that classic that he won. He had to sit in the penalty box for an hour. Right. Came in late on his practice day because everything was 9 minutes off.
Yeah, I got a couple guys on that Knoxville Classic too. A couple years back.
Yeah, it's wild. There's so many things that can go wrong. I think that's why when it actually goes right, Todd, it means so much.
Yeah, you see guys walk up there and visibly cry when they win. I'm guilty for it too. And you start reflecting on all those years. If you look at my winnings of 200 grand or whatever it is, it's like I would be a poor living off of that for the last 40 years. It's not like when they see that they go, oh wow, he's won so much money. But you start reliving all those years of not cashing the check and, you know, living from paycheck to paycheck, because back in the day, I used to, you know, max out my credit cards to fish tournaments, you know, and I'm lucky now that I don't have to do that. But it's tough. It's emotionally draining, whether you do good or whether you do bad. It's a, you know, if you're really into it.
Yeah. Well, dude, I've thoroughly enjoyed this hour and a half. You got anything else you want to get in here before we wrap things up?
No, not at all. I enjoyed it too. I'm hoping, you know, I think I joked with you the other day about being the West Coast Frank Scalish. I would love to be able to, you know, when you're bored and you need somebody on your show, I'd love to be that guy, you know.
Listen, I love talking about the West Coast and having the guys on, but there's a bunch of stuff. You mentioned the Westy worm. We're talking about the drop shot. You're talking about dragging that hollow belly. There's a bunch of stuff that the genesis is of is West Coast stuff. And if it's been fished, I feel like you have a pretty good grasp on that. So I'll talk with you off air a little bit more about that, but I think there might be a little meat on that bone.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy the show. And like you said, catch me at Cast for Kids, Todd at castforkids.org. And yeah, I love giving back. And if there's anything I can do for any of your subscribers, please feel free to reach out and we'll make something happen.
That works. All right. Hang tight. I'm going to wrap the show up, then I'll be back. So there you go. Big Daddy Todd Woods. That is, that's a cool interview. You know, anytime you get guys around that are good at storytelling and have been around for 40 years, you're kind of due for a good show. And plus there's just so many characters on the West Coast that you come in contact with. All right. This has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.